The internet often paints the Sigma male as a pinnacle of masculine independence, a mysterious lone wolf who lives untouched by societal pressures, unfazed by the opinions of others, and completely devoted to his own path. He's portrayed as a man who answers to no one, creates his own code, and walks through life with a kind of untouchable freedom that many envy. At first glance, it sounds like the ultimate dream. No emotional entanglements, no social obligations, no rules to follow but his own, just pure autonomy. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Being a Sigma male isn't nearly as effortless or glamorous as it's made out to be. In fact, it may be one of the most difficult and isolating paths a man can choose, or more accurately, a path that chooses a man. While alpha males dominate and beta males conform, Sigma males walk a third path, alone, not because they want to be superior, but because they simply don't fit into any traditional social box. Sigma men don't chase approval. They don't follow trends, and they don't play the social games that grease the wheels of everyday life. They resist being molded, and in doing so, they trigger discomfort, misunderstanding, and even hostility from the world around them. Because society values predictability and conformity, someone who refuses to participate in that structure is often seen as a threat or an outsider. That resistance comes at a cost. This isn't a video made to glorify the romanticized lone wolf narrative. It's not about feeding the fantasy of detached power and effortless success. It's about pulling back the curtain and facing reality. Being a Sigma male means carrying a burden of relentless self-responsibility, emotional isolation, and constant misinterpretation. In the following breakdown, we're going to explore the 10 harsh truths that define the Sigma male experience. Truths that go far deeper than the internet memes and motivational quotes. Because while the Sigma may walk alone, the path he walks is anything but easy. 1. You're constantly misunderstood. The cold, distant, too intense label. One of the harshest realities of being a Sigma male is that you're almost always misunderstood. From an early age, you probably heard the same words repeated back to you like accusations. You're cold. You're distant. You're too intense. These aren't casual observations. They're people trying to make sense of your refusal to engage in the social rituals they're used to. While others thrive in group dynamics, seek validation through noise and attention, or feel comfortable falling into predefined roles, you operate outside of that system. You watch more than you speak. You observe while others perform. You're grounded in a sense of self that doesn't require applause. The world tends to sort men into two familiar categories. The alpha, loud, charismatic, assertive, dominates the room. The beta, agreeable, accommodating, always seeking approval, follows. But where do you fall? You're neither. You don't chase the spotlight like the alpha, and you don't crave acceptance like the beta. You're self-reliant, non-conforming, and uninterested in playing the game. That lack of participation unsettles people. They can't put you in a category, so they label you incorrectly. When you stay quiet, they call it arrogance. When you maintain boundaries, they think you're cold. When you show unwavering focus, they say you're too intense. They interpret your independence as indifference, your solitude as antisocial behavior. But here's the truth they never see. You're not cold. You're selective with your energy. You're not distant. You're deeply observant. You're not too intense. You're laser focused. You simply don't waste time trying to impress people who don't matter. Still, in a world where appearances are often valued more than authenticity, being misunderstood isn't just annoying. It can be deeply isolating. You walk through life knowing few will ever truly understand your intentions or see the richness of your inner world. And yet, you keep walking, not for their approval, but because the path is yours alone. 2. You don't have a tribe, and that's more painful than you admit. One of the most overlooked and emotionally complex truths about being a Sigma male is the absence of a tribe. At first glance, this seems like a badge of honor. After all, the Sigma archetype is defined by independence, self-reliance, and a rejection of herd mentality. You don't conform to social norms. You don't seek validation from others. You don't need a group to define your identity. While others rely on social structures for reassurance and belonging, you walk alone by choice. But underneath that stoic exterior lies a quiet, persistent ache that's rarely talked about. The pain of isolation, Humans, by nature, are wired for connection. We're built to form tribes, communities, and bonds based on shared experiences and mutual support. While you may not need a crowd, there's still a part of you that occasionally craves something deeper, a sense of belonging that goes beyond surface-level interaction. There's a hidden cost to absolute independence. When you choose solitude over connection time and time again, you inevitably miss out on the intangible benefits of community, camaraderie, that unspoken understanding that comes from shared struggle and mutual respect. Support systems, people who catch you when life takes a swing and remind you that you're not in it alone. Shared joy, the warmth of celebrating victories not just for yourself, but with someone who understands what it took to get there. Yes, you tell yourself you're fine, that you don't need anyone, that drama, obligations, and superficial friendships are too high a price to pay for connection. And to a large extent, you're right. But even the strongest man occasionally wishes he had someone who truly got him, someone who could stand beside him, not complete him, but to witness him. The Sigma male's deepest paradox is this. He is strong enough to stand alone, but sometimes he wishes he didn't have to. 3. The never-ending internal war. Do I stay isolated, or do I let someone in? For the Sigma male, life is often a battlefield not just for the outside world, but within his own mind. It's a quiet, relentless war between two deeply opposing instincts, the desire to remain completely self-sufficient and a human need for connection. On one side of this internal tug-of-war is a familiar voice of discipline and logic, saying, stay isolated, focus on your mission, don't let anyone close. People are distractions, liabilities, even threats to your purpose. This voice has protected you. It's kept you sharp, independent, and immune to the chaos that traps others. But then, there's a quieter, more vulnerable voice. The one that dares to ask, what if you're wrong? What if there's someone out there who understands you? Someone who won't ask you to shrink, but will rise to meet you. Are you really meant to go this entire journey alone? That voice isn't weak, it's honest, and it makes the conflict all the more painful. This battle isn't about being indecisive. It's existential. It strikes at the very core of your identity. You crave deep emotional connection, but you've been let down too many times to trust easily. You long for unwavering loyalty, but your past has taught you to expect betrayal. You want to be understood, but not at the cost of diluting your complexity or masking your truth. So what do? Often nothing. You hover in that emotional limbo, keeping people at arm's length while secretly hoping someone will prove themselves different. You remain guarded, skeptical, and self-contained, even as part of you quietly aches for something more. The result is a kind of mental and emotional purgatory, a constant push and pull between self-preservation and connection. Most men never experience this war because they either fully lean into dependence or lose themselves trying to fit in. But as a Sigma, you live in the tension. You carry both the strength of your solitude and the burden of what that solitude might be costing you. For emotional isolation, the silent killer, no one knows what I'm really feeling because I never tell them. For the Sigma male, emotional expression is not second nature. It's a calculated decision, and most of the time that decision is silence. He doesn't vent his frustrations to friends. He doesn't reach out when he's struggling. He doesn't cry on anyone's shoulder or explain when something is wrong. Instead, he internalizes everything. Every doubt, every moment of stress, every ounce of sadness or uncertainty. He absorbs it all quietly and continues marching forward as if nothing's wrong. This emotional self-containment might look like strength from the outside. People admire his stoicism and assume he has everything under control. But behind that composed exterior lies a growing storm. Emotions don't disappear just because you refuse to express them. They don't evaporate in silence. When they're locked away, they don't die, they intensify. They sit quietly in the background, accumulating pressure, feeding internal tension, and eventually corroding your sense of peace and well-being. The danger here isn't loud or dramatic. It's subtle and gradual, a slow emotional erosion. Over time, the Sigma male can find himself exhausted without understanding why, disconnected from his own emotions and deeply isolated, even in a room full of people. And then one day it hits. He's been carrying a burden no one even suspected, because he never gave him the chance to see it. Emotional isolation isn't a badge of honor. It's a hidden weight. And for the Sigma male, it often becomes a silent killer, not through breakdown or outburst, but through quiet suffering that wears him down piece by piece. 5. The crushing weight of self-reliance. If I fall, there's no one to catch me. For the Sigma male, independence isn't preference. It's a core identity. He prides himself on not needing others, on solving problems alone, on trusting his own instincts above anyone else's. He doesn't ask for help, rarely seeks guidance, and almost never leans on another person, no matter how heavy the burden becomes. To the outside world, this looks like strength, discipline, and self-mastery. But beneath that stoic exterior lies an exhausting truth. Self-reliance can be a crushing weight. When you live without a support system, every decision feels heavier. There's no one to bounce ideas off, no safety net to catch you if you slip. The wins are yours, yes, but so are the failures, and there's no one else to share the blame. Each choice becomes high stakes. Each misstep feels like a personal indictment. And while others may have a cushion of friends, family, or mentors to soften the blow of life's harder moments, the Sigma male faces it all head-on and alone. There's no backup plan, no reassuring voice in the dark, just a quiet realization that every path walked, every risk taken, and every consequence that follows rests solely on his shoulders. And even in moments of success, there can be an unexpected emptiness, because celebrating alone feels different. The applause is silent. The victory, while real, lacks warmth. This is the paradox of the Sigma life. The same independence that sets him apart also isolates him. And in a world built on interdependence, bearing the full weight of your own life, without help, without safety, without reprieve, can be less like freedom and more like an invisible cage. 6. You attract the wrong kind of attention. Why do the worst people always gravitate toward me? Despite making no effort to draw attention, Sigma males often find themselves under the spotlight, though not in the way they'd ever want. Their quiet confidence, emotional detachment, and refusal to play social games tend to provoke a strong reaction in others. Unfortunately, it's not always admiration they attract. More often, it's the wrong kind of people. Manipulators are drawn to the Sigma's self-possession like moths to a flame. They see independence not as a boundary to respect, but as a challenge to conquer. Then come the energy vampires, those who feed off others' focus, drive, and discipline. To them, the Sigma is a resource, not a person. And finally, they're the conformists, people who hate being reminded by contrast how deeply they've compromised themselves to fit in. The Sigma, by simply being himself, becomes a silent threat to their fragile identity. When the Sigma male inevitably rejects these people, whether by setting boundaries, going silent, or simply walking away, they rarely take it well. They lash out, often with cheap labels like arrogant, cold, or loner. But these judgments are projections, not truths. The reality is that the Sigma male isn't antisocial, he's anti-fake. He doesn't hate people. He hates pretense, manipulation, and superficiality. And in a world where surface-level charm often passes for connection, that authenticity makes him a magnet for those who either want to change him, control him, or tear him down. So while the Sigma may walk his path alone by choice, the attention he gets, uninvited and often unwanted, only confirms what he already knows. Real solitude is easier than fake company. 7. The relentless pressure conform. Why won't they just leave me alone? For the Sigma male, one of the most exhausting battles isn't internal. It's the external, unrelenting pressure from society to just fit in. From a young age, people around him struggle to understand his nature. His family may ask, "Why can't you just be normal?" Friends chime in with comments like, "You're too serious, lighten up," while the broader world insists he should be more outgoing, more social, more like everyone else. This pressure isn't always overt. It shows up in passive-aggressive remarks, subtle comparisons, and constant suggestions that his way of life is somehow lacking. People push, prod, and guilt-trip not because they have his best interests at heart, but because his independence threatens their own attachment to the status quo. His refusal to follow the herd makes them question why they do. And in quieter moments, when the noise gets too loud, even the Sigma male may start to doubt himself. Maybe they're right. He wonders, maybe life would be easier if I just blended in. The thought is tempting. Not because he wants to be like them, but because constant resistance is tiring. But deep down, he knows better. His soul won't allow it. The idea of abandoning his truth, of pretending to be something he's not just to make others comfortable, feels like spiritual suicide. Conformity might buy him temporary peace, but it would cost him everything that makes him who he is. So he keeps going, not because it's easy, but because the alternative would mean killing the very essence of his identity. And if there's one thing the Sigma male refuses to sacrifice, it's that. 8. No safety net for mistakes. If I fail alone. For most people, life comes with a built-in safety net. When they stumble or fall, there's usually someone nearby to catch them. Friends who offer shoulder to lean on, family who step in with support, or mentors who help recalibrate the course. These networks cushion the impact of failure and share in the joy of success. But for Sigma males, that safety net rarely exists. By nature, Sigmas walk alone. Their independence is a badge of honor, a conscious choice to rely on no one but themselves. While this fosters resilience and sharpens decision-making, it also means they face every consequence, good or bad, entirely on their own. When a Sigma male fails, there's no one to soften the blow. There are no reassuring words, no safety blanket to collect the support. He carries the full weight of his mistakes in silence. And when he wins, the celebration is often just as solitary. There's no crowd cheering, no warm embrace waiting, just a quiet acknowledgement of a battle survived. This radical self-reliance is empowering, but it can also be terrifying, because deep down, the knowledge lingers. If he breaks, there's no one coming to save him. The freedom that comes with living on his own terms is real, but so is the isolation. In a world where most lean on others to survive the storms of life, the Sigma male must weather them alone. And that truth, while rarely spoken, can be the heaviest burden of all. 9. The exhausting battle of authenticity. Why is being real so damn hard? In a world built on appearances, being genuine can feel like a form of rebellion. Society often runs on facades. Fake smiles at parties, superficial friendships held together by convenience, and curated personalities designed to win approval. But Sigma males don't play that game. They refuse to put on a mask. They won't say what's expected just to keep the peace, and they won't bend their truth for the comfort of others. This raw authenticity, while admirable, comes at a cost. Most people aren't equipped to handle it. When faced with someone who won't pretend, who won't sugarcoat or perform, they often react in one of three ways. They admire from a distance without ever getting close. They grow resentful because the Sigma's truth shines an uncomfortable light on their own lies, or they misunderstand him entirely and label him as difficult, arrogant, or unapproachable. And so, the Sigma male is often pushed into a painful corner, forced to choose between fitting in by diluting who he is, or standing alone by staying true to himself. The vast majority will choose authenticity every time, even if it means walking alone. But that choice doesn't come without pain. Being real in a fake world is exhausting. It's isolating. And while a Sigma male may carry that burden with quiet strength, it doesn't mean it doesn't sting. Beneath the surface, he feels the loneliness of being true in a world that constantly punishes those who refuse to pretend. 10. You can't stop challenging the status quo. Why can't I just accept things like everyone else? Sigma males are inherently rebellious. It's not just a personality trait. It's an instinct, a constant urge to question the world around them. They don't accept things just because they're the way they've always been. They question everything. Traditions, expectations, norms, and authority, where others passively accept the world's systems. Sigmas scrutinize them, dissect them, and reject the ones that don't make sense or serve any real purpose. They're not just against the grain. They're challenging it, constantly pushing against the walls of conformity. While this is undeniably admirable, it comes at a significant cost. The world as a whole doesn't take kindly to those who disrupt the status quo. Authority figures see you as a threat to their control. Those who are comfortable in the system resent you for making them question their own choices and privileges. The system itself, whether it's the workplace, societal structures, or even social dynamics, punishes those who refuse to comply, labeling them as troublemakers, outcasts, or rebels without a cause. But for the Sigma male, the drive to challenge the status quo isn't just a choice, it's a necessity. To stop would be to betray himself, to dishonor his own mind and values. The need to question, to rebel, to seek truth runs so deep that it becomes impossible to simply accept things as they are. The very act of challenging everything is what fuels the Sigma's existence, even when it's exhausting, isolating, and met with resistance at every turn. It's a battle that never stops, because to stop would mean losing himself in a world that demands conformity. Conclusion: the Sigma's burden. Being a Sigma male is far from the glorified fantasy of power or the romanticized notion of the lone wolf. It's not about walking through life untouchable or immune to the struggles everyone else faces. Instead, it's a difficult, often isolating journey that demands much more than simply rejecting societal norms. To be a Sigma means embracing an existence built on unshakable self-trust, relentless authenticity, and total accountability for every choice you make. There's no room for excuses or relying on others to carry your weight. It's a constant self-reliance, and it can be overwhelming at times. However, within this struggle lies an undeniable beauty. The harder life gets for a Sigma, the stronger they become. The more misunderstood they are by the world around them, the deeper their self-awareness grows, and the more they understand about who they truly are. Isolation, though painful, sharpens their clarity and solidifies their sense of purpose. It's in the darkest moments, when everything seems most difficult, that a Sigma gains the clearest perspective on what really matters. Their mission, their identity, and their ability to navigate a world that doesn't understand them. So yes, the Sigma life is not easy. It's filled with obstacles, misunderstandings, and moments of solitude that can feel crushing. But for those who are built for it, those who choose to walk this path with unwavering determination, there is no other way to live. The struggle is the foundation of their strength, and it shapes them into someone who is unbreakable, clear in purpose, and unafraid of standing alone. For the Sigma, this path is not just a way of life. It is the only way to truly live. Do you resonate with the ideas I shared in this video? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you're interested in more content about Sigma males, explore the other videos on this channel. Thanks for watching.